You ever have one of those days where everything just flips on you? Like you walk into work feeling like you own the place, thinking that promotion is basically in your pocket, and then bam, you find out it's not yours anymore. Not only that, the promotion goes to someone you'd never even thought would be in the running. And wait for it, it's your younger sister. Yeah, Emily. She works in a different department, totally separate from mine. I mean, sure, we're siblings, but we have barely crossed professional paths because she's in marketing while I'm stuck in product development. So when the news hit me, it was like getting sucker punched by family. I remember how I first heard about it. I was grabbing a coffee in the break room chatting with Mike, my work buddy who's seen me through plenty of deadlines and disasters. Mike looks up from his laptop, kind of smirks, and goes, "Hey, did you hear about the new team lead in marketing?" "Congrats, Em." I blinked. Wait, what? Apparently, Emily got promoted to team lead, and not just any role. This was the position I'd been gunning for months. I'd put in extra hours, brainstormed late into the night, practically lived on every project we had, and thought for sure the bosses had their eyes on me. But nope. The company had decided to push my little sister ahead instead. I'm not gonna lie, my stomach twisted in that moment. I mean, sure, family is family, but this felt like a personal blow. The weirdest part was that no one had given me a heads up. Not Karen, my boss, not Emily. Even Mike seemed to think it was just some wild coincidence. I started wondering if there was some secret handshake I'd missed, or if Emily had pulled some office ninja moves behind my back. The whole thing felt less like an achievement and more like a punchline, and the person delivering it had my own last name. I tried to laugh it off at first, told Mike I'd congratulate her even if I wasn't really feeling it. But inside, this whole promotion thing became a bigger deal than just a new title. It was suddenly a weird mashup of family rivalry and office politics, and I had no clue where I stood anymore. So yeah, that's how I found out the promotion I thought was mine had actually gone to my sister. And that was just the beginning of one huge mess. Emily and I, well, let's just say we've had our moments. Growing up, it was the usual sibling stuff, borrowing clothes without asking, blaming each other for broken windows, the works. But things took on a slightly different flavor once we both ended up at the same company. Not the same team, no, we worked in totally different corners of the building. Me in product development, her in marketing. But having that shared last name at work? It amplified everything. I mean, there's something about competing for attention that doesn't just stop at the dinner table when you're siblings. It follows you into your 30s and straight into your office cubicle. That promotion? It had been my Everest. For months, I'd been laying groundwork like a bulldog with a bone. Extra projects, late nights debugging, intense brainstorming sessions with Mike. I could recite the pitch deck in my sleep. I felt like I was in this quiet race against myself, juggling ambitions and expectations. Honestly, the promotion wasn't just about a fancy new title or a slight bump in pay. It was more symbolic than that, proof that all those years struggling with family expectations weren't just a background noise. Our parents, sweet as they are, have always been loud cheerleaders for Emily. She's the creative one, I'm supposed to be the logical tech guy. When my mom once described me as the steady hand, I knew that was code for reliable, but maybe not the star. Getting that promotion felt like a chance to rewrite the script, to show them and myself that I could be more than the backup plan. At work, I had built a reputation, or so I thought. Karen, my boss, was tough but fair. We had this unspoken pact. She'd back me if I delivered, and I made sure to deliver. People like Mike, who's honestly one of the few office friends I can trust, kept reminding me to stay sharp, that this was my moment. So yeah, I was all in. Meanwhile, Emily? She was doing her usual thing, charming the marketing folks with her creative flair, always the social butterfly, organizing team lunches, leading those brainstorming sessions filled with sticky notes and crazy ideas. I admired that about her, even if I never said it out loud. But deep down, I figured her path was hers and mine was, well, mine. The last few months, though, there was a shift in the company's atmosphere, whispers of restructuring, rumors about shaking up team leads, a lot of who's in and who's out, conversations echoing in the hallways. My gut told me something big was coming, and honestly, I was ready for it. During this tense waiting game, I tried to keep Emily at arm's length. It felt like crossing a professional line to compare notes or discuss the promotion. It was unspoken. Our sibling rivalry stayed offline, at least in theory. But I won't lie, seeing her at the occasional office party, surrounded by her marketing crew, laughing effortlessly, left a weird knot of jealousy tangled with admiration. I kept asking Mike if he thought Emily was in the running, but he'd just chuckle and say things like, "Different worlds, man. You play product, she plays marketing. It's all chess pieces, not direct competitors." That was supposed to be reassuring, but after what happened, it almost felt like Mike was missing the bigger picture. At home, the dynamic was just as complicated. Our dinners are usually filled with light teasing and Mom's endless questions about work. I'd try to deflect when Emily's name came up, treading carefully around the unspoken tension that bubbled under the surface. Emily, for her part, seemed oblivious to, or maybe just ignoring the growing storm in my head. It was like we were on different planets even though the distance was just a few feet across the table. And that promotion, it wasn't just a job title, it was tied to so many layers of who I was trying to be. It was about respect, validation, maybe even proving to myself that I could break out from the second-string sibling role. So when Emily got the nod and I learned about it secondhand, well, it rocked my world more than I expected. But that's where things start getting even messier because it turns out Emily's journey to that promotion wasn't as straightforward as I thought. And the more I dug into it, the more I realized there were parts of the story I didn't know, even about my own sister. Finding out Emily got the promotion was one thing, but trying to piece together exactly how she managed it without so much as a heads up was like untangling a set of earbuds you thought you'd never fix. I mean, sure, I trusted her, or at least I wanted to, but the secrecy just felt off. It started that Monday when the office buzz felt different. The usual coffee line chatter somehow carried this undercurrent of, "Did you hear about M?" And so, what's next for the marketing team? I kept sidling over to Mike looking for any scraps of intel, but all he had was his typical laid-back grin and a shrug. "She's got some serious moves, man," Mike said, as if that explained everything. "You've seen how tight-knit her team is. Plus, Emily's no slouch when it comes to playing politics." Politics? That word made me cringe a little. I'd always figured I was the good guy, the straightforward coder who let the work speak. Emily, on the other hand, was the wild-card smooth talker, always in the right meetings, networking like it was a sport. Maybe that's where I'd underestimated her. Curious, and maybe a little resentful, I started paying more attention to the little details. The way people would light up when she walked by, the side conversations hushed just a bit as she passed. I overheard a few snippets here and there, something about Emily volunteering for a secret project, with higher-ups, shadowing the bigwigs, even some after-hours brainstorming sessions I'd never heard of. One afternoon, desperation pushed me over the edge. I texted her, simple, casual enough to not sound accusatory. "Hey, congrats on the promotion, can we talk? Face to face?" There was a pause that felt like an eternity. Then a reply, "Sure, catch me in the cafe after work." That was all I got before the day crawled on. When we finally met, the cafe was this tiny, dimly lit spot downtown where the espresso was strong and the chairs were awkwardly stiff. I caught sight of her sitting there already, twirling a pen between her fingers, looking exactly like I remembered from family dinners, except there was this new calm confidence about her. "Hey," I started, trying to keep my voice steady. "I guess I'm just surprised. I didn't see this coming." She smiled, but it was kind of tired. "Yeah, I figured," she said quietly. "Look, I didn't mean to keep you in the dark. Things just moved fast." I frowned. "Fast how?" "I thought you weren't even in the running. How did this all happen?" Emily leaned in like she was choosing her words carefully. "You know how marketing's been shaking up? There was a lot of pressure to find someone who could bridge the team with leadership, and I volunteered for a high-profile client campaign. It was risky, but it paid off." "And Karen?" I pressed, thinking back to my own back and forth with our boss. "She saw what I could do there. I guess," she shrugged. "Sometimes it's about taking chances, not just grinding through the projects." There was a flicker of vulnerability that I hadn't expected. "I didn't want to step on your toes. Honestly, I was trying to figure out how to tell you." The words hung heavy between us. I wanted to say something like, "Yeah, that would have been nice," but instead, I just nodded, feeling this odd mix of disappointment and reluctant admiration. Workdays after that got complicated. Emily and I managed to keep the family stuff out of the office, but every glance across the cafeteria or during those rare meetings felt loaded. I noticed her checking in with me now and then, like she was trying to bridge a gap that I kept widening without realizing it. At home, the whole situation was even trickier. Our parents caught wind of the promotion pretty fast. Mom was all smiles and hugs for Emily, of course, but when she'd glance at me, there was that shadow of a question I couldn't quite place. "Are you okay with this?" I'd ask her once. She'd just brush it off, saying, "You'll find your way, sweetheart." But I wasn't so sure. Emily and I skirted around the topic as best as we could, but the usual sibling banter started feeling strained. I'd tease her about her sudden queen of the marketing world status, and she'd fire back with some snark about my tech wizard routine. But underneath, there was this silent tension, like we were both waiting for the other to crack first. Every family dinner was a dance around the elephant in the room. I caught myself flinching when Dad casually mentioned how proud he was of Emily's leadership. It wasn't jealousy I was wrestling with, not exactly, but more like the gnawing thought of whether I'd lost some invisible game neither of us knew we were playing. And in the office? The hallway whispers hadn't stopped entirely. People asked me awkwardly if I was handling the news, or if I'd talked to Emily about the big move. It wasn't like anyone was outright hostile, but the air was thick with unspoken questions. Through it all, I kept wondering, did family loyalty mean anything here? Or was the office just another battlefield where the closest person could become the toughest rival? Sometimes, when I caught Emily's eye across the room, there was a flicker of something. Regret, maybe? Or maybe just the weight of realizing that winning this promotion came with a cost neither of us had fully expected. And just like that, what should have been a moment of shared pride turned into this complicated whatever it was. Because in the end, it wasn't just about who got the job. It was about the uncharted territory between family ties and career ambition, and whether there was a map back or if we were both just lost trying to find our way. What really happened behind the scenes with that promotion? I found out the hard way, but it wasn't what I expected. It turns out, Emily's climb to team lead wasn't some underhanded takeover or sly family favoritism. No, it was a mix of timing, hidden risks, and a little luck. After that cafe talk, I started to piece things together. Emily's secret project, as it turned out, was bigger than anyone let on. She'd been handpicked by Karen and some of the upper management to spearhead a new marketing campaign targeting one of the company's largest clients. A project nobody else wanted to touch because it came with sky-high expectations and zero margin for error. Emily took those risks on her own. She worked late nights, scrambled last-minute pitches, and even navigated some tense meetings without a net. Meanwhile, I was juggling my usual flow of product updates and bug fixes, grinding away in the trenches but never stepping quite out of my comfort zone. Karen had my version of a talk too, which was a surprise. Not a, you didn't get it, of course, but more something along the lines of, you've got solid foundation, but sometimes leadership means stepping into the unknown, not just perfecting the routine. It stung, but I appreciated the honesty. It nudged me to rethink how I was approaching my work, the risks I'd been so scared to take. The funny thing was, the tension between Emily and me sort of eased. It wasn't instant, and it wasn't like we suddenly had a bromance, but there was a new layer in our relationship, less competition, more understanding. Maybe because I saw what she went through, and maybe because she realized my own frustrations weren't about her personally, but about all the invisible hurdles we faced trying to prove ourselves. At home, the atmosphere shifted too. Dinner conversations became less loaded. Our parents, who probably noticed the undercurrents all this time, gave me a little space and started asking more about my own projects rather than just celebrating Emily's win. It was subtle, but it mattered. Work is still work. Emily and I don't suddenly hang out after hours or share office gossip. But there's a kind of mutual respect now, unspoken but present. We're in different departments with different strengths, and oddly enough, the promotion battle made it clear that winning isn't always about landing the title first, it's about how you play the long game. It's weird looking back. I mean, part of me wants to say Emily took my promotion, but that's too simple. Life's messier. The truth is, she grabbed a moment that I didn't even see coming and ran with it. Meanwhile, I'm still figuring out what my next move looks like. I guess it left me wondering something else, in the tangled mix of family and work, who really wins? Is it the one with the promotion, or the one who keeps their integrity intact? Or maybe the real challenge is learning to root for one another, even when the path isn't clear. So, what would you do if a sibling stepped in front of you in the race you'd been running for so long? Would it tear you apart or push you to run faster? That's the question I'm still figuring out. And I think, for now, that's a story without an easy ending.